Hello, 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 you gorgeous human being. It is Suzy Ashworth here, and you are listening to the Infinite Receiving podcast. And I have got a juicy one for you today. You know, when I use the word juicy, I'm a little bit excited, and I am very excited. I'm just going to set the scene just a tiny bit because for those of you who have been in my world for a little while now, you will know that I have been manifesting this for not one, not two, not five, but 7 freaking years. Yes. For those of you who were there in London on that fateful day, the first Limitless Live, you heard me speaking about my childhood idol, Mr. Chesney Hawkes. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Suze. That was quite an intro. I have to say, I love that you do your jingle on the fly live podcast.
Thank you very much. It's my thing. I'm famous for it around the airwaves now. I have people's husbands apparently singing it to their wives every time they put on the podcast. So I'm like, it's a thing.
That's great. Well, I loved it.
I am really excited. I kind of very briefly said this before we came on live, but I do just want to share with you, I have been manifesting this since I did a live event. It was my first live event, actually, and our mutual friend, Melissa Wells, was up on stage chatting.
Mel.
Yes, the gorgeous Mel.
I love Mel.
And I
Yeah.
came on stage to the one and only. That was my Sting song. And it felt a little bit bold, actually. It felt a little bit
Yeah.
wild to be like, I am here. I have arrived.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. You have to go all out.
if you're going to do it, you have to.
There's no other
You've
way.
got to go all in.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got the audience to sing it back to me. And it was a real moment as I explained what that song meant for me and why I had the courage to use it. And it is a theme that's really run throughout the whole of my almost 11 years in business now. And that is really knowing your own unique greatness and every one of them knowing their own unique greatness. And on that day, I set an intention, and I feel like this is the first step towards that intention. So I have a question. I've got lots, but I have a first question that I want to ask you.
Okay.
It's not, are we going to get married?
I love your boldness.
Thank you. If by the time we get to the end of this interview, and it hasn't been the worst interview in the world, I have a proposition for you, which I'm sure you will love. So if we have a good experience, am I allowed to proposition you by the time we get to the end of the interview? That's the question.
Of course. You're allowed to do anything you like because you are the one and only.
Amazing. Thank you. I suppose I want to start there because it's such an iconic song. What does it mean to you now?
Well, as you can imagine, I've had my ups and downs with it over the years. You know, I was only 19 when I put that record out. And you don't really know anything at 19, do you? It's like, I have children older than that now. In fact, they're all pretty much older than that now. And I'm very aware that I didn't really grasp the kind of, I don't know, energy behind the intention of the song, back then. I was just like, this is great pop song. I wanted to meet Nick Kershaw, who was the one of my idols, and I got to work with him, and I was just kind of like caught up in the whirlwind hurricane that is pop stardom, and I was just singing the song, and then so since then, I obviously it's been 33 years since the record was released now, so. I didn't play it for like 10 years after that time. because I was just kind of rebelling against it all, I guess, rebelling against the pop world and everything else, and I just wanted at that point just wanted to be in Radiohead and I don't know, turn my guitar up to 11 and shoegaze and I wasn't even going out as under my name, I had like different band names and stuff, and whenever that song was kind of like suggested, I was like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. But during about kind of the turn of the century, I got offered a few gigs as me. So it was like 10 years after the record was released. And I just thought that no one was going to know who I remember me, and these were university gigs as well. So I kept thinking in my mind, I'm like, okay, so these kids that I'm going to play to now would have been like 9 years old. There's no way this is going to work. No one's going to know who I am. But what I didn't
Literally
realize
my age.
is the power of music. Exactly, right. Exactly. Maybe you were target demographic back then, Suze. I don't know. But what I didn't know is that, that I didn't realize the power of music, I guess, that kind of that song had gone off, and I call it a song with wings. It went off and it made its own connections with people. And it meant something, to people that was really almost nothing to do with me. They had their own memories, their own thoughts about it, their own kind of, I guess, interpretation of the lyric and the way it made them feel. And, all of that stuff is nothing to do with the artist, not really. It's about your relationship, Suze, with the song and what it meant to you. And so for me, when I walked out on stage in that university, in front of that university crowd, I think it was in Nottingham in about 2001, nervous that no one was going to know who I was, and the song was so popular. It was like, wow, it had been handed down like a mantle behind my back. I had no idea this was happening, and here I am 34 years later, and and you can imagine the kind of stories and messages that I've had over the years. People like literally so emotional about it, and so it was this first song I played when I met my wife. It means so much to me because it's helped me through dark times, my mental health issues, and that happens a lot with this song. It was played at my brother's funeral, blah blah, that kind of stuff. Just incredibly like powerful stories that I'm humbled by. I just happen to be the conduit of that song, but really I've kind of relinquished ownership, if you know what I mean, because it belongs to the people that have these emotional connections to it. And so over the years, my kind of thoughts of the song have changed to kind of love and appreciation and humbleness, and now it's almost like when that intro starts, if I'm playing a gig, when I start with that intro of that song, you can feel the energy change. It's like, wow, it's all those emotions and connections and things that people are thinking of it, and memories and stuff. They rise to the top, and then if you at all feel energy in that way, it's quite powerful, and that pushes me to want to perform it in that kind of like full on way. Like you said, when you walk on stage to a song like that, it's like you've got to go all out and just like, yep, and own it, because we are all, that we are all unique, and that is what the song is about. It's a very self-empowering message, and I think that's what most people feel. Most people that love the song feel when they listen to it, is that kind of, I am okay. I'm a good person, or I'm unique. I'm special. I'm the only one that is me, which is pretty amazing. It's a pretty amazing thing to realize.
It is
You know?
stunning. I write about this. It's like a 1 in 400 trillion chance of you being here on this planet. There was never one before you that
Yeah.
has the same energetic signature. There will never be another person who comes
Yeah.
after you. That is
Yeah.
fucking
It's
amazing.
amazing. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And you by luck or design, have done something quite spectacular or have been a conduit for something that is quite spectacular. I suppose I'm curious whether you come from a showbiz kind of background. I feel like your mum and dad were performers.
Yeah.
So did you always know that you were going to go into the entertainment industry? Was that always the goal?
Yeah, absolutely. I never had any other aspirations. I never had a backup plan. I never had a proper job. My dad always says I came out singing. There was no stopping that. There was no. It was like a a steamroller or like like a snowball kind of gathering pace. There's absolutely no way I was not going to make it in my mind. When when I was younger, obviously your mindset changes over the years when life can change your perspective sometimes. But as a kid, and certainly into my teens, and when I really started really getting into music, I was so precocious, like in a way that I just had absolutely unflinching belief in myself, and in what I was doing, and where I was going. So it's pretty incredible that song came along at that time, and all the stars aligned, because that's exactly how I felt at that time. There was just absolutely no way I wasn't going to make it, and that's probably what pulled me through. I don't know.
That plus talent and intention, right?
I guess so. Yeah, I I've always been, I've always known that I was good at what I do. I always known that. I am, and I'm very. I know it sounds maybe to some people like a kind of like a big-headed thing to say, but I'm a good singer. I'm good, uh, I've always been. I've always known that inside myself. It's like uh, it's just part of me. And so I think you're right. There is a little bit of there is a bit of that obviously if I couldn't sing, perhaps that wouldn't really have worked. but as you say, I grew up in a rock and roll household, and maybe because all of my parents' friends were kind of successful people, like Jerry Marsden was one of my dad's mates, from Jerry and the
Hmm.
Pacemakers, and dad knew all these people, and they were like my uncles in a way. And I was kind of like, when it came to be my time, it was like, okay, we're gonna pass this on to you now. you know
But you started off, so Buddy's song was the carrier for the song. So, but you said that you came out
yeah.
singing. So I was curious, was acting never really the thing? It was like, this is the vehicle that is going to enable me to sing.
Yeah, it
Mm.
was. I only really went up for that part because the lead character that I was going up for was a young singer-songwriter, and it's all I'd ever wanted was to be able to get the opportunity to put records out. I was like obsessed with like charts all through the 80s. When I grew up in my teens. It was Prince, it was Nick
Yeah.
Kershaw, it was Duran Duran, it was Madonna, it was all these U2, all these artists that were like, to me, kind of gods in a way, and it was the only thing that really made my juices flow, and I was just obsessed. So yeah, that was kind of always to me it was like a destiny, you know.
Do you believe in manifesting? Do you speak that language, or is that not your vibe?
No, I do. I do. I think if you feel the feeling of having something, there's no real difference to actually having it.
100%.
So it's a difficult thing to do, and it takes practice. And I think we're all guilty of not doing it fully.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of life, isn't it? But I think what I have learned over the years is that that feeling of that you, when, like, if you look back to a time when you were
Mm.
happy or whatever it was, just kind of like harness that feeling, even if it's just you were sitting on a beach and just thinking, oh my God, life is incredible. I'm so happy right now. I've got this warm sea breeze on my face, my toes in the water or whatever it is, that feeling of just like, wow, isn't life incredible? If you can harness that and try and take that with you everywhere you go, and it's hard to do sometimes, because sometimes you get up in the morning and you're like, I've got so much to do, and I got to do this, I got to do that, and of course, you know, life is difficult sometimes. But it's to me, I've always been a very positive person. Um, I think if you can actually tell yourself that you're happy, you know what I mean? Because you find the things in life. For me, that's how I do it anyway. I find the things in life that make me happy, and I think of my wife's smile, or I think of my daughter's laugh, or when I first come home and the dogs are just happy to see me, or as I said before, just walking with the sun on your face. So I just think about those things, and it just kind of like pushes down the stuff that you maybe you're not so happy about, like having to pay bills or money issues or love issues or whatever it is that you've got in your life. And of course, I understand that kind of positive outlook, and attitude can be difficult for some people. I understand that. I've always found it, the way to live your life.
I suppose I'm curious about that period after you had this big and then a decade of refusing to play the song. What was going on in that 10 years?
I guess for me, I guess I was discovering myself, because as I said before, for me when I was young, I was just so one track minded. It was all about music. Um, that when it happened, it felt like, yep, this is the way it goes. You put records out, you have hits, and you become a big pop star, and yeah, this is my life. This is it. I didn't think that it ever wouldn't be that. So when it wasn't, and I got dropped by the record label, and then I couldn't get people that I thought were family really, on the phone,
Right.
and and then you get life things. There was one moment where the record company dropped me. My girlfriend at the time had dumped me. uh, I literally couldn't get these people that I'd been with for the last 2 years, 3 years, daily. I couldn't even get them on the phone. So I realized that wasn't real. You know what I mean? That kind of fame thing, the whole life, that kind of wild ride that it was, as real as it felt at the time. I look back on it, was like, okay, so that's not actually reality. This is reality, and how I react to it is going to determine how strong I am. You know, so I have always been very tenacious. Because at that moment when it was all kind of like, ugh, it felt like everything had gone wrong, obviously, and it was upsetting. But I had this weird thing in my psyche that was just like water off a duck's back. Get yourself up, pick yourself up. Come on. I don't know if it's like a little someone on my shoulder or what, but just start a band. Keep writing, write a song. Just pick up a guitar. You love music, don't you? And so that's what I did. And I had that 10 years there was full of like fun. Actually, it was exciting because I was creating music. I was playing with the bands, shitty little places where I wasn't being paid money or anything like that, where your amp blows up. I almost like kind of paid my dues the other
Yeah.
way around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I look back on those days where I had no money either. I was like broke, and they were almost like some of the best days of my life because it's just struggling and together with people,
Yes.
and just I don't know. It was just finding myself. I do credit my wife though. I have to say
Okay.
for turning me around, because I was in a hole. I was, and looking back on it, I probably was depressed, and it affected me more than I realized. And it's the kind of thing that you face in retrospect when you start to kind of really go through some kind of spiritual journey and start bringing out the dusty pebbles that you've got to have a look at, and and it can be painful. And I totally know that was all Chrissy. She kind of, made me the man I am. She really did.
I love that. At what point did you meet her? How old were you?
So we met in 95. So what was I there? 22, 23? So young.
Really young.
So young, yeah.
What was it about her that you fell in love with?
Oh, wow. Nobody ever kind of stood up to me the way she did. She well, for a start, she's absolutely beautiful, like physically stunning. And she has the best heart. I mean, she cares. She really, really cares. And it was so obvious right from the beginning that she was like as tenacious as I am, for sure. So we met each other in that place. But she, I think, intrinsically knew that you have to work on yourself, even at young, because she would have been 20 when we met, a baby. I look back at pictures of us when we first met now, and I'm like, oh my God, we were babies, absolute babies. And of course, you know what it's like at the beginning of a relationship, especially when you're young like that. It's all a bit kind of like tumultuous, and it's on, it's off, whatever, all that kind of stuff. And but once we were engaged within 2 years, engaged and married within 2 years.
Wow.
She moved in like within a couple of months, much to her parents' chagrin, I'm sure. Out of work musician with hair longer than hers. But I think we're just best friends, and always have been, like from the moment we met. And
How did you meet?
well, it was 4th of July. She's American, 4th of July, and for some reason, I was going to see a friend play. I was literally going to go and support a mate who was just playing acoustic guitar at a local shitty little pub called the Edinburgh Castle near where I lived. And there were literally like 2 old men in flat caps and a Jack Russell and my mate Ash, who came with me, who was living with me at the time. And for some reason, these 2 beautiful American models decided to walk into that pub on the 4th of July. That's how they were celebrating. I mean, that's what I mean. It's like, of all the places and all the, it's one of those moments. And it was just kind of this, for me, it was like almost I heard angels singing as soon as she walked in. She was like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. And I bought her a drink and she said, I'll have a pint of lager. I was like, will you marry me?
Are we talking about the Edinburgh Castle in Camden?
No.
Okay.
In Mortlake in West London.
Right, okay, fine. Because I was going to say, I met my ex-husband in the Edinburgh Castle in Camden. So that would have been wild.
How funny. It would have been a sign.
What's the secret? Because 22 and 20, you've been together, what is it, 27 years, 29 years, 30 years?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, 27, 28, yeah.
What's the secret?
I mean, as I said before, she is annoyingly good at getting through to the crux of a matter. So like if we're arguing about something, it's never about what we're arguing about, and she knows that. And she has an uncanny knack, and I think it really is just a built-in thing with her. It's really annoying, actually, because it can be hard, but she takes you to the place that is painful, that you have to look at and you have to deal with. And I have so many breakthrough moments just talking to her. just being with her and her saying, you know what it is? It's because blah, blah, blah happened when you were this young and it was your dad this or your mum that. I'm like, it was that, you know, and it's like, how did you know? And then you know it's real. You know it's the right place because you have a
Yeah.
release of some sort, you know, and it's just, I love that. I do love those moments. And as men, we don't have enough of them, I think. You know, we have a habit of pushing the emotions down, putting a lid on it, letting it fester in there. You know, it's a very manly thing to do, isn't it? And most men haven't discovered how beautiful it is to actually, you know, cry deeply about something, or just let it out, just, you know, because there's a freedom in it. There's a freedom in it, and you move on, you move forward. And Chrissy's just amazing at that. She would make a great therapist.
When was the last time you cried? And what was it about?
Oh. My dad's not very well at the moment, and it's the kind of it was this is very personal actually, but it was kind of a realization of knowing that it's kind of the beginning of the end, to a transition, you know, and it's hard. It's really hard. And so, yeah, that was definitely the last time I cried, and it wasn't that long ago.
What? Thank you for sharing that, by the way. I appreciate it. I actually read that you had a moment not so long ago, maybe in the last couple of years, where you thought that you were going to die because the plane that you were on looked like it was going to crash land.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to hear in your words about that experience because you spoke about death and your perspective on it then.
Mm. Well, yeah, I was on a plane with my wife, actually, with Chrissy. Thank God. She was like calm as anything, focused. It's okay. I'm like, it's not okay. She was just completely like a rock, you know. And so we were on a plane from Greece. We were going to see a friend of ours get married in Greece, which was amazing. So we were having a wonderful time, and we were on our way to Barcelona, where I was going to doing a gig. And rarely I have Chrissy with me because I'm always away, and she just happened to be with me, which was wonderful. And so we were 35,000 feet up, and suddenly the masks were deployed, and everybody kind of looked around and kind of, that's weird. Maybe we thought it was a malfunction or something. And then suddenly, so no one put them on. We were just kind of everyone's looking around. And then the stewardess came running down the aisle. Put your mask on, put your mask on. It's an emergency, emergency. So we were like, oh shit. So put the masks on, and we're just looking around. Everyone's looking scared, and I could see people kind of getting upset. And then suddenly the plane just started shaking like crazy, and you could feel the drop. It just went woof, like drop, nose down. I'm looking out the window. I could see the Aegean Sea. I could see us going straight down into the sea. And then the captain said, emergency descent, brace. So then everyone started crying. Everyone's like screaming. Christy and I were looking at each other like, shit, this is crazy. Is this actually happening? Then then people started taking their phones out and they're filming and stuff. And the stewardess said, she screamed at the top of her voice, you're filming, and the plane is going down, and we're all gonna die. So she lost her shit, this girl, young girl. I mean, totally lost her shit. And at this point, because when it started happening, they were in the middle of service, and so the trolley was in the middle there, and so she's on the floor. Right, there's bottles flying all over the place, up and down the aisle, because the plane's shaking so much and everyone's screaming. So she's on the floor in fetal position, picking up bottles and throwing them into the galley and smashing like these bottles. Lost her mind. And of course, because she'd lost
Everyone
her
else is
shit,
losing it.
everyone in the plane is panicking and losing it. You know, she was the worst person. You don't want her in a emergency. You know, and this went on for 20 minutes,
Wow.
Suze. 20 minutes. And as this is all going on and screaming around us and everything else, and bottles flying around and the nosediving of the plane. So we looked at each other, and there was I mean, I was definitely crying. There were tears in my eyes for sure, and I was scared. You know, I'm not afraid to say it. It's scary. And Chrissy had this kind of like peace in her eyes, and we locked eyes, and you know, we've got these silly masks on. We're just looking at each other and eyeballing each other, and she just smiled, and I smiled back, and we were like, wow, it's okay, it's okay, and we hugged, and she said, it's okay, but we do need to leave a message for the kids. So I'm like, okay, yeah. So I got my phone out, opened up our WhatsApp group, and we left this message that was, you know, paraphrasing here, but just basically saying, we don't know what's happening. The plane seems to be going down. We just want you to know how proud we are of you and that we love you so much. Please look after each other. I'm like crying now thinking about it. And don't worry about us. We're okay. We're together. We did all of that. Send. And as I said, 20 minutes of this craziness. And then suddenly the plane just went, "Vroom," and all of the shaking stopped. And the plane seemed like normal. And then the captain said, emergency descent over. So we're like, okay, that's all the information that we get. And then so we're like, okay, so do we keep our masks on? And she's like, keep your mask on, the stewardess said. And then she came running down again. The stewardess came running up down the aisle. She's like, emergency landing in Napoli, emergency landing, you know, brace, all this kind of stuff. It was crazy, and like I could see the plane was coming down, so we didn't know if we were going to crash land or what. So people have got their feet up on the seats, like people are in the brace position. People are crying again, and the plane just landed, and it was fine. And of course, once we knew we were safe, everyone just like hugging each other. Like the guy next to me, this big Greek fella, you know, we're hugging each other, like, you know, and it was tears of joy. So we got pictures with the crew and the captain, and afterwards, and nobody told us anything. And we found out, you know, afterwards that there was a catastrophic failure in the cabin pressure system. So they had to get from 35,000 feet to under 10,000 feet within 10 minutes, which obviously is
Scary.
really crazy, and a very, very rare thing, apparently.
Yeah.
Very rare. Like, it hardly ever happens, you know. And so there you go. And so afterwards, our kind of Chrissy and we had to debark and went straight to the bar and ordered a bottle of champagne. And we just started talking about it. And the thing is, you know, if you haven't experienced something like that, you expect that if you're facing death imminently, that your life is going to start flashing in front of you, and you're going to start saying to yourself, oh my God, I should have hugged my kids more. I should have told my dad I loved him. I should have. But the truth is, we didn't do that. And we realized that afterwards, that we were like, it's actually okay. You know, we love each other. We've brought 3 beautiful children into the world. We're happy. We love what we do. Everything's okay. It's okay. I don't have any regrets. You know, there wasn't anything that was like nagging at me, like, oh my God, I need to do this before I die or whatever. No, none of that. So that was the realization, and how, you know, it's actually quite beautiful, you know, that we were ready to face our maker or move on to the next, whatever it is. It's fine. It's fine. If that's what it is, if that's what is planned for us, then, you know, we've loved, and that's great. So, yeah, that's the message that we got.
Very different from the stewardess's message, who was throwing bottles.
Apparently apparently she had shit to do. She was only 22, bless her though. So I mean, I'm too young to die.
That's stunning. It's stunning to have that awareness, and only something that you will ever know. I'd like to think. In fact, I know that I have an interesting relationship with death. I lost my foster mother. I didn't lose her. She passed away when I was 19, and so that changed my relationship with
So sorry.
living, actually. And in my head, I have a peaceful sense of, like, I live my life as though, maybe there's not tomorrow, so I don't want to live with any regrets. And when I hear you saying that you left the message for your kids, I've got 3 kids as well. Like, the idea of me, God, even I can barely even say it. The idea of me leaving a message like
I know.
that for them
I know.
now. I mean, they're younger than yours, but that for
I know.
me, definitely not ready.
Yeah. It's the first thing that came into our heads. That was it. We're ready, but that
Yeah.
we didn't want to put that on them, to lose it. Oh God, it's hard to say, but like, we've talked about it now, to lose your parents at that age, like you did. That's
Yes.
well, it's a defining moment, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
kind of like ground zero.
It is. And I feel, just listening to you talk about having that voice at the back of you, like, so what are you going to do now, Chesney? Like, do or die. Are you
Yeah.
stepping up, or are you going to? I think for me, it really was a defining moment, because who I was at 19, the life that I was living and the trajectory that I was on was not good. Losing my mum was like, you're going to step up. You got a choice to make. What choice do you want to make?
Yeah, there's one
Yeah.
where there's
And
2
I
paths
think
here.
that is interesting that you chose a path where you didn't you obviously hadn't got lost in the fame and lost in the celebrity for you to continue wanting to and choosing to actually make music and write music and play. So it suggests to me that it was a real gift for the music, or the music was a gift to you. I'm curious. What comes up for you when I say that?
Oh, well, I just so grateful for music. That definitely was my guiding force, to kind of get up and do it. I still have that same passion for music as I did when I was that 16-year-old kid playing piano in the corner of a pub, which is where I really started. And I can't pass a guitar without picking it up. I can't pass a piano without playing chord of the day or whatever. I still love it so much. I love it. I'm so like it fills me, and so I know I chose the right career, the right path for sure, because I love it, so much. And I am also very, very aware that most people don't have that, so I am very, very, very grateful for it. I find it amazing that I'm still able to, make a living out of playing music, because it's such a gift.
It is amazing to be able to write a song, write a tune, press play on whatever, and people come alive. People just like it, it by osmosis, you're able to transmute a feeling and people respond. Like, that is such a gift.
Yeah.
Are any of your kids musical?
Yeah. They all are, actually, to a certain extent. My son Casey's 22. He's an actor, actually, here in LA. But he's got a guitar in his room. He loves playing guitar. And he's a singer too. So yeah, he has musical bones for sure. My daughter, who is 20, she's studying animal behavior at St. Andrews University. So she got the smarts. Got that from her mum, probably. But she's also an amazing singer. She's a really good singer, and she loves singing, and she's always putting out little videos and stuff. I don't know whether that's her career or not. I don't know. But whatever she wants to do, I'll support. Whatever makes her happy. But the one that is definitely following in my footsteps is Indy. He's 18, and he's incredible. He's studying at the Brit School in
Oh,
London.
amazing. My son wants to go there. We'll see.
Oh yeah, well, it's a great school.
Yeah.
It's a great school, and he's just finishing there actually. But he's my lead guitar player.
Oh,
He's so good. He's a
wow.
way better musician than I ever was. He's way better.
Amazing.
Watch this space with him. Yeah.
Okay. It's interesting that your daughter's at St Andrews and your son is at the Brits, but you're in LA.
Yeah.
How much of
Yeah.
what's life like for you in LA? Do you miss the UK? Like, what's the vibe?
I live a very international. I'm an international man of mystery, darling. I spend half the time in the UK, or in Europe anyway, and half the time here. And in fact, it's probably more in Europe than it is here right now.
Okay.
We've been here for 12 years.
Yeah.
We are talking about moving back.
Are you?
Yeah,
Yay for the
yeah,
UK,
definitely.
UK for the win. Yes.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Why?
Yeah. Because I miss my wife.
Okay.
It's so difficult being. I chose this beautiful woman to share my life with, and I'm spending half my time away from her. So it's just not good enough, I'm afraid. I need more of my lovely wife. So she's happy to come back to the UK. She feels half English anyway. She lived with me in England for 17 years.
Okay. Wow.
And she misses England too. And there's all sorts of things we both miss about England. There's that kind of, for a start, Americans don't know how to do beer.
Yeah. Yeah. Enough said.
Simple as that.
No
I'll leave that one dangling. None needed. So we kind of miss that kind of, I don't know, just banter.
Yeah.
That kind of English banter that only we can do.
Yes.
That kind of thing where we can be a little bit like, we can take the piss out of our friends, and it's said with love, and it's just so warm and cozy, and that kind of, that beautiful English thing that you can never get anywhere else. So both of us miss that. I'm not saying that some Americans don't get that. They do. They really do. But it's few and far between, shall we say? And I miss that kind of green and pleasant land. I live in a desert here. It's kind of just very brown, apart from the palm trees. And it's just time. My parents are getting older, and I need to be there for support.
Yes.
And I think all three of my kids are probably more Anglo than they are American.
That's interesting.
So I feel like it's just time. We had our adventure over here, and it was great.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful for it. And I feel like all of us have grown in so many ways being here. We met some incredible people that have helped us along the way. Because I really believe, I don't know if you feel this way, Suze, but like there are people in your life that come along at right time to help you grow, whether it's some kind of guru of some sort that shows you a spiritual path that you didn't know existed, or it's a friend that gives you the advice and love that you need at a particular time that helps you move forward, and there are so many of those people that we've met on this journey here in LA that have helped us, that I don't know where we would be without it, and it's just part of the journey of our life. And I will forever be grateful for this place. I really will. But it's just time to come home. Get some good beer.
100% agree. I was in London actually at the weekend with two friends. One I met in Ibiza 25 years ago, and another who we then both met in Thailand. And those times in my life were short, but I met my best friends, the people that I was bridesmaid at their weddings, people who were bridesmaid at my weddings, a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And
There you go. I love that phrase.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's the vibe.
I love that phrase.
So exciting news. You are coming back to the UK and are going to be performing in May, which is
Yeah,
really exciting.
it is. It's my biggest headline show since 1993, probably from the early 90s.
That's wild. Do you feel nervous?
Yeah, I'm more nervous of, and I need to stop thinking about it because it's such a big venue. I was just kind of worried that we were going to sell the tickets, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. It seems to be going okay so far, and my wife keeps saying to me, "Like, you need to just see it full.
Yeah.
That's it.
100%.
That's all it is. Just let the universe fill it. There's nothing to do with you."
I love your wife. Can we come?
I know you would. You do.
I know that I love your
She's the
wife.
best friend. She's the best friend you've never met.
So it's at the O2 Forum in Kentish Town, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
how many people?
2,500.
Okay. We are now all manifesting with you.
Manifest it.
We are seeing it happen. How did that come around? So it's your first headline gig since 1993. So what happened? What's the story?
Well, actually, it's very exciting times for me right now, Suze. I've got a new album coming out, which I'm very, very excited about. It's a. I'll tell you just a little bit about the album, then I'll carry on. But like, there are some kick the doors down pop bangers on there, but it's a very cathartic album, and I've written. There's all sorts of, darker subjects, difficult subjects like suicide and, things that have happened, in my life to people in my life, and songs that had to be written.
Okay.
Just stuff where you get to a certain age and you're like, okay, I really need to. There's a closure here,
Yeah.
in some way, and songwriting has always been that for
Yeah.
me. Like that's if you write it down or get it out, it can not only help you move on, but it's going to help other people deal with situations, in their lives. So there are songs on this album that I know are going to hit a nerve, put it that way. So new album, very excited. It's also produced with Jake Gosling, who's the guy who discovered Ed Sheeran. I mean, he's like an A-list producer now. He's worked with Harry Styles and, everyone.
Amazing.
He's a lovely guy and an old friend of mine. So the album, that's one thing. And then I've got this new team, which I'm very excited about, a new manager who I love. And, he's young, he's hungry, he's got all sorts of like left field ideas and kind of, for some reason, I've always been managed by old farts who don't, you wouldn't even know what social media is if you told them, So it's exciting movement in that way. I've got a new agent, and that's where the gig came in. So it's kind of like where we've talked earlier on about believing, and you sometimes have to jump off a cliff and just hope that you're gonna, land in the right way, and you have to believe it. And so that's why they were like, right, let's be a little bit scary. It's going to be a little bit, difficult to kind of like, go to take that first step, but let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's book it and let's see what happens. And so that's kind of what happened here. And it's turned into, it's almost like this gig has turned into a celebration. Nick Kershaw is going to come and do a little cameo performance. I've got some other really fun ideas for it. It's made me think about all the old songs, and so I've dug deep, and I'm starting to think about. I've done a few gigs, recently where I'm kind of bringing out some of these songs. So it's going to be a celebration of my early career. And obviously what I've done since, but then is also like almost like an album launch thing for this, what I'm doing now. It's just a real celebration. And I just want all my friends and family to be there because I feel like it's going to be a special night.
Oh, I'm obsessed. What date is it? Is it 31st?
Yeah, 31st of May.
Okay. If I'm in the country, Oh no, I think I'm in Austin. I think I'm with Mel Wells in Austin on the 31st of May.
Ah,
Um,
it's Mel's
it's
fault.
Mel's fault. You know what I love? I love seeing your face talk about it because you
Mm.
look really happy, and that's a vibe.
I think when you're excited about something and you're really in the flowing, in that
Yeah.
flow, it takes years off of you.
Yes.
You know, you see it with people when they light up about
Yeah.
something. Like, and it can be anything. It can be a puppy. It can be, whatever they're excited about. You can see in their face, they suddenly look like a
Yeah.
baby, you know?
I see that, and it's amazing. I'm really conscious that I would love to speak to you for another hour, but we've got about 7 minutes before we are scheduled to come off. So I've got questions that I ask everybody, which I am going to ask you. But this feels like the perfect segue into this, actually. So
The
the
proposition.
proposition. Brace yourself. So I am a big thinker as well. I like to think big. And when I was on stage at my first live event, there was about 100 people there. And I said, what my vision is to one day be speaking on stage at the O2 Arena in Greenwich. And what I want to do is come out to I Am the One and Only. But I want Chesney Hawkes to be playing the song with me. So the proposition is, so the proposition is if I ever get to speak at the O2 Arena in Greenwich, will you play I Am the One and Only with me on stage?
Absolutely.
Yes!
Absolutely. Let's make it so.
Let's make it so. Well, shall I tell you the really funny thing is that I've started working with this guy whose goal, he's an Emmy Award winning film producer, but he also does big events. And he does them all around the world. And his goal is for 2028 to do an arena tour of his events. And he sent me a message maybe about a month ago and went, August 2028, O2 Arena, just planting seeds. And I said, I'm available. So August 2028, make sure that you are around. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well, listen, I'll be living in England at that point, so, right next door to my beloved West Ham. Easy.
Easy. Well, there we go. You heard it on here. Thank you so much.
You heard it here
You heard
first.
it here first. Okay, the questions that I ask all of my people are in relation to the name of this podcast, Infinite Receiving, and the name of my new book, which came out in February. And the first question,
Congratulations.
thank you very much. The first question is, what does infinite receiving mean to you?
That's a beautiful phrase. I see why you chose it. Because I think the thing is, us humans, most people have a habit of blocking things coming into their lives. There's fear, and it all stems with fear.
Yes.
We're all scared of maybe failure. We're scared that we're not good enough, or we don't deserve it. All those negative emotions that we have stop us from living the life that we deserve.
Yeah.
So infinite receiving to me is like taking all of those blockages, all those walls, and all of those little things, the chatty friend that we have, quietening that little friend, knocking the walls down, and believing that you deserve everything and that you can achieve everything. It's possible. All of us have that in us. All of us.
Yes. How good.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Juicy.
How good are you at allowing yourself to infinitely receive?
I mean, I think I'm pretty good, but I do lose sight
Yeah.
sometimes. Maybe because I'm human,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
We all do it, and we all have, we all have moments,
Yes.
and sometimes you can catch yourself doing
Yes.
it, which is the beautiful thing. And if you find that if you're aware of
Yeah.
it, if you can see it, like seeing the wood for the trees, because I think most of the time it's all subconscious mind stuff. You don't even realize that you're telling yourself you're not good enough, or that
Mhm.
you don't deserve it, or it's never going to happen because I don't have enough money, or all these
Mhm.
things that we tell ourselves. And most of that is subconscious mind. And I don't know if you are like this, Suze, but sometimes I'll catch myself, whether it's me actually catching myself or somebody else saying, "You realize you're
Mhm.
fucking this up," without realizing it, don't you?
Chrissy.
You realize you're saying that to yourself, don't you? Chrissy, mostly my wife. Yeah. But I tell you what, my daughter has that gift as
Yeah.
well. So she's very good at that too. Um, so I think I'm pretty good, and I think because I'm aware of it and I know what I'm doing to myself, even if it's subconscious, and I still bloody do it because we are human and we all do it. Um, I think just having an awareness that even exists
Yes.
is, ahead of most people. So
100%.
uh, yeah, I think I could always get better at it, Suze. And I need probably a little more meditation
Yeah.
and a little more Chrissy in my life.
It's happening.
Maybe a little more Suze in my life.
It's happening. Where in your life or who in your life could you allow to love you just a little bit more right now?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Thank you.
Wow. So that question just feels like a trust issue for me. Like, how do you trust someone enough to let them love you? And there's plenty of people that I think I could let in more, but life can kind of like it can stop that from happening on so many levels and so many ways, because you've been hurt, because you've been ripped off, because you've been stopped in your tracks by people or things or that have happened. But even with those kind of things, even with those, I think you have to open. You have to live your life open. Otherwise, you'll never love again. You have to step off the cliff. Like I said about this gig, you have to do it if you want to move forward. If you want to move on,
Well, it says loving is risky and allowing yourself to be loved is risky. Going all in on your
it
dreams
is. It's
is
difficult.
risky. I talk about this
Yeah.
in the book. I say you have to be willing to have your heart smashed into 1,000 pieces,
Yeah. You
knowing
have to.
that the equal and opposite is also available. So if you weren't willing to take the risk of doing the gig, you'd never have the knowing of the
Hmm.
experience of actually doing the gig. So you've got to take the
Yeah.
risk.
Because you're stopping yourself with fear.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And the truth is, what's the worst thing can happen if you do jump off the
Yeah.
cliff? In whatever situation this is, loving someone, giving your heart to someone, say. So, okay, worst thing that can happen is you don't get it back and they break your
Yeah.
heart. And that is an opportunity.
Exactly.
So it's a win-win.
Exactly. See,
You still grow from it.
you have the infinite receiving mentality. This is it. This is it.
Yeah.
What is your greatest attribute?
I would say, for me personally, it's probably my tenacity. For people around me, it's my ability to love them. I feel like um, I feel like I spread light, you know, and I think that's a natural thing that I have,
Yeah.
and I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not just talking about, my family and my friends. I think every time I step onto a stage, you know, I hope, I say it to myself, and I feel like it's true that I can bring happiness.
I love that. What is one thing that you are consciously manifesting right now?
Physically, actually, right now, it's the right house
Okay.
in England.
Okay.
Yeah,
I won't ask where,
that's a big one.
but we'll send out good vibes.
It will be somewhere kind of West
Okay.
Londonish, so like probably Surrey,
Fine.
somewhere near my folks, because I need to be close to them. But I want the right house for our
Yeah.
family. So that's something that is a daily manifesting thing at the moment.
Final question. Where can you allow yourself to be more supported in your life right now?
That's another trust issue, right? That's another trust question. Interesting. Where could I allow myself to be more supported? So, yeah, because there's a lot in life that we take on ourselves that you think, well, if no one's going to do it for me, then I have to do it, because I'm always going to do it better than anyone else. So delegation in life is actually quite important, especially in business. It's really important, because it frees up everything else that for you to do. Like, so for instance, for me, the business side of things, I've never really been that great at, but obviously I'm quite good creatively. So I would say that, but then I've also in the past been quite wanting to know the ins and outs of what's happening. I need, before we go any further, before we sign this contract, I need to know all that, which is important, I guess. But I feel like now that I've got this new team that I was telling you about, I can trust them to take care of the nuts and bolts of the business side of it, while I get on with creating beautiful music and doing what I do.
I love it. Chesney, it's been a real pleasure. I'm really grateful. Thank you very much for sharing your time and your heart this afternoon. When's the album coming out?
The album will be out. I can't give you an exact date because I don't actually know one, but I'm hoping that we're going to put like a couple of songs out over the next few months. And the album, my guess is late summer. That's what I'm hoping.
Fine.
And I have to say, Suze, thank you so much for this. It's actually, because this morning for me, was it like, yeah, it's just 9:30 in the morning. This was the perfect way to start the day. You have been a delight.
Thank you.
And I've really, not my average podcast.
Okay. Yay. I received that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean it.
I appreciate it. It's been a real pleasure. I hope that you have loved this episode as much as we have. And if you have, do me a favor, share it with at least one person you know that is going to benefit from some of the squillions of juicy nuggets that Chesney Hawkes has shared with us today. And
Juicy Nuggets. Maybe that's the name of my next album.
You're welcome.
Chesney Hawkes, Juicy Nuggets.
And in the meantime, please remember that faith plus action equals miracles.